Hey guys, so if you have watched some of the other videos, you know that each section you have to do something different. And in this section, which is a little bit different from the general ELA 10 classes, you guys are also going to look at patterns. And patterns, that was discussed in chapter 2 that you worked on in your IEM project. So you had to go into your textbook, read chapter 2, and take some notes about it in the research section. And one of the things they brought up was the idea of patterns and how noticing those patterns help us to analyze on a deeper level. As part of the pre-AP curriculum, as we're trying to prepare you for AP or C, College Credit Plus, one of the biggest things that they're going to focus on is your ability to analyze and to notice patterns and to discover what that means or why the author included those types of patterns. There are 4 types of patterns that we notice that help us in our analysis, but you're only going to focus on 2 because you're still learning, okay? So if you look at this section right here, patterns in literature often help readers to engage in analysis and lead to the theme of a text. That's very important. So I want you to note these patterns by listing them in the appropriate box for each of the sections of I Am Alfonso Jones that you're assigned, so each chapter. At this point, you don't need to explain them. I just want you to notice them because I want to get you in the habit of noticing them so that when we go to explain why those patterns are there, you're successful. The 2 types of patterns you are going to focus on are repetitions and links, aka allusions. So in your book, it called it links, but they also said that the fancy term, the literary term, is allusions. So repetitions are those repeated images or repeated words, phrases, settings, structures, the way something is structured, rhymes, and so on. So in other words, you're noticing why the author repeated these things over and over again in the same kind of imagery, the same kind of setting, the same kind of phrase. Because if an author does that, that's important. You have to figure out why. Why did he do that? What is his point? And how does that develop the theme? So you want to notice those. The second one I want you to notice is links, aka allusions. There are connections or references to the text to something else outside the text. So these references include people, things, or events, or other texts, or movies, or music, but anything outside the text that you're reading. Authors do this to make a point, to develop a theme. They reference it because they assume that you're going to know what it is and that you're going to be able to say like, oh, I think he referenced this because blank. So it's kind of like if I were to write a poem and in my poem, I was talking about, how I get angry, but it's about me. But I reference and make an allusion by having a line that says, I get angry like the Hulk. The Hulk is a reference to something outside my poem. That is supposed to show you maybe how angry and how I can't control it. So when you're reading, Medina is going to reference a lot of things outside of the text, and there's a reason. So you want to look at that, and which is a type of pattern. So those are 2 patterns. Again, you're really just listing them, not explaining them at this point. So we're going to look at an example. Remember, just like in the other videos, you're doing each of these things at the top of the paper for each chapter or each section that's assigned, okay? So I'm going to scroll down. You can see we've already done this work to get to patterns I notice. So when I was reading chapters 1 through 3, I noticed he referenced the Heisman Trophy. Like he compared himself by getting the Heisman, which is in football, as he was like going around Harlem on his bike, which basically makes me think, oh, okay, you're really good at this. Because to get a Heisman Trophy, you have to be really good at football. Okay. He also references the Tuskegee Airmen, Armstrong, Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, Frederick Douglass, Michael Jackson, etc. Now, I know because I've read a lot, I know a lot of these things. And so they are definitely well-known historical African Americans. However, you need to figure out why those people. What is it about those people, besides the fact that they are well-known African Americans? Why would he reference Harriet Tubman over someone else that was well known? What about Harriet Tubman is important to this novel, is important to this message? So again, right now, you're just listing the patterns. Later, we're going to figure out why. But in the back of your mind, I want you to think about that. Why? What about Harriet Tubman? What about Frederick Douglass, right? What about Michael Jackson? Different time periods, but he mentions them. That's important. Notice that. So as you read and every other chapter, you're going to notice those kinds of patterns. Those were all illusions because those were the main things that I saw. Now, you can do one or the other or both. If you come across a chapter where something is repeated multiple times, list that or links. You may not have both in each of the chapters. That's fine. Just notice. Okay. And that's about it.